around the corner, and I'm definitely looking forward to warmer weather. We've still got a little bit of snow on the ground outside, but it's thawing out pretty quickly, which is great. I'd like to welcome my new sponsor here at the show, Minutemen Coffee out of Yakima, Washington. Minutemen Coffee is definitely a supporter of our law enforcement and our military. Their website is minutemencoffee.com. Tonight we're going to talk about some bills coming up in Washington State in the legislature that are severely lacking in common sense. That's what this show is all about, right? Common sense. I need you to help me send a message to our public servants and tell them what you think. Remember, they're your servants. You might want to grab a notepad and a pen. Write down these bill numbers. But before I get started on that, I want to remind everyone that this Thursday night, March 4th, I'll be speaking at the Pine Low Conference Center at Loon Lake. I want to thank the Stevens County Republican Women's Club for the invite, and I look forward to that. I believe it starts at about 6:30 Thursday night. If you're close to that area, I'd love to meet you there. They have an entrance fee of $5 per person, but that includes coffee and cookies. And you know how I like cookies, right? Right, Mrs. Springer? All right. So I've also been invited to a series of rallies that are starting out this spring, starting in April, and they're going to be all around Washington State, and that's with the new Patriot Pack. I'm going to have a booth there. I'll have a swag, I'll have books, I'll be there to meet everybody, and they're going to even let me speak. So be sure to go to the new Patriot Pack, PAC.com, and sign up for email alerts. That way you'll get an email when the time and place and all of that is finalized for those rallies. With warmer weather coming, it's a great thing to look forward to. I always loved, doing the rallies during the campaign and meeting so many patriotic people everywhere I went. Everywhere. It was amazing. So be sure to sign up for the email alerts at the newpatriotpack.com. It's free. All right, so let's get to it. House Bill 1054, 1202, 1267, and 1310. I talked about this a little bit on my live on Friday on one of these. These bills are bad. These bills will make us less safe by making our police less effective. They would eliminate the tools that our law enforcement rely on every day, all across this state and all across our country. These tools, like protective vehicles and police dogs, are things that the police officers use to protect themselves and, more importantly, the public that they serve all the time. Why does our legislature want to restrict the tools that police use? Let's think about that, right? I would like to see the legislators who support this garbage, I'd like to have them spend some time on patrol and handle the calls that our police officers handle all the time. These legislators are disconnected from reality. Or maybe they're just lacking in common sense, or maybe they're just plain stupid. Or perhaps they don't even care about our police, right? That we've seen a lot of that. Either way, we don't need to narrow the thin blue line by taking away their tools or making it easier to prosecute them or setting them up to civilian review boards. The thin blue line is already thin enough. If I'm in trouble, if I'm just a citizen and I'm in trouble, I have to call 911. I want the cavalry to show up with a large toolbox full of whatever tool they need to stop whatever's going on. And I don't want them to have to answer to someone who isn't trained in law enforcement, or in police procedures. But that's what the left wants to do. If a criminal is barricaded in a building and has maybe threatened someone, maybe shot at somebody, maybe shot at the police, maybe they have a hostage, maybe they've already killed someone, the police should not have to show up without a protective vehicle. Many of these vehicles that the police use, they're available through military surplus, and they're free to our local law enforcement. They want to eliminate this. What do these legislators expect them to do? Just walk up to the door and knock? Hey, sir, we know that you've killed someone and you shot at my partner, but could you come on out and let me take you to jail now? It's absolutely asinine. Maybe we should pass a law that requires the idiots in the legislature to respond to dangerous calls like they expect the police to. How would they like it then? They'd probably be shriveled up in a corner underneath a tree someplace looking for their safe space. But this is what our police do every day. The liberals also want to set up a civilian review board for use of force. That makes about as much sense as having a civilian review board for, say, a bridge collapse. After a bridge collapses, you send in a civilian review board, right? Would we have a civilian review board for doctors after they perform a surgery? Or how about a civilian review board for plane crashes? Does any of these things resemble any sort of common sense? No. You get industry professionals to review when needed. You don't get people that aren't trained in what they're reviewing. It would make no sense to have a non-engineer review a collapsed bridge or a non-doctor to review a surgery. Are you kidding me? Can you imagine? Oh yeah, well, I've gutted a few salmon in my time. Let me take a look at what this doctor did to you. No, there's no common sense in that. The same holds true for police work. Our modern day police officers are highly trained professionals, and when something they do is in question, there's detectives at the local, state, and federal level who could be called on to investigate. Common sense, right? Unbelievable. House Bill 1054 requires the Criminal Justice Training Commission to also form a work group for the use of canines in police work. And I'm going to read that to you right now. This is what it says. Listen closely. The Criminal Justice Training Commission shall convene a work group to develop a model policy for the training and use of canine teams. The Criminal Justice Training Commission must ensure that that work group is equally represented between community and law enforcement stakeholders, including the following: families who have lost loved ones as a result of violent interaction with law enforcement, an organization advocating for civil rights, a statewide organization advocating for Black Americans, a statewide organization advocating for Latinos, a statewide organization advocating for Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, and Native Hawaiians, a federally recognized tribe located in Washington State. Do you notice any ethnic group that's not listed here? That's not represented? Again, this is the Democrats dividing American citizens by their skin color or by their race. It goes on. A community organization from Eastern Washington working on police accountability, a community organization from Western Washington working on police accountability, a community organization serving persons who are unhoused. The faith-based community with advocacy on police accountability, an emergency room doctor with relevant experience, Washington Association of Chiefs of Police, Washington State Patrol, Washington Fraternal Order of Police, Washington Council of Police and Sheriffs, Washington State Patrol Troopers Association, Council of Metropolitan Police and Sheriffs, Teamsters Local 117, and the Washington State Police Canine Association. Let me tell you something about all of these groups. Only one out of them is set up specifically for the use of police canines in Washington State. And that's the Washington State Police Canine Association. They have the rules. They have the policies. That is the standard for all police officers in Washington State and has been for years. It's very extreme. It covers everything. Unbelievable. So there's so much in there. But it just fries me that they separate us by the color of our skin or where we're from. You don't hear conservatives doing that. The Democrats have been in charge of this state for going on 40 years. If there is a racial problem, who's been in charge of this state for the last 40 years? That's a good question, right? Separating people by their race is in and of itself racist. Is there any requirement that the people in this work group have any understanding about the use of police dogs or the use of force by police? No, none. We don't need another study or a work group. Our police canine handlers and their dogs are already highly trained. The Washington State Police Canine Association already has these standards written out, the trainings written out. The handlers, and I know, I was one, the handlers are very knowledgeable in the use of force and case law on the proper use of canines, when they can use them, when they can't. The dogs are highly trained and they have to obey the officer's commands even when they're off leash, even when they're running down the street chasing someone, chasing a criminal. They have to be able to be called back by that officer before they make contact. I think that these legislators need to go see a canine demonstration because they don't have a clue. They don't have a clue what they're talking about. They're just pandering to the left. And we have way too much pandering. We need to quit that crap. Police canines keep their human partner safer than if they didn't have one. That's a fact. They find criminals. They're not out there looking for people who aren't criminals. All right. I'll be right back with a closing statement right after this quick break. Stay with me. I'm untouchable.
Would you have a message for Lauren Culp?
Who's Lauren Culp?
Who's Lauren Culp?
Who is Lauren Culp?
Who's Lauren Culp?
Hi, I'm Christopher Gergen, Senior Advisor to the Culp organization. You know, I spent over a year on the road campaigning with the American Cop, and from those experiences, I thought I really knew Lauren Culp. But then I read Lauren's new book, and holy there's so much more to this guy than I could have ever imagined. His new book, An Insubordinate Life, pulls back the curtain and reveals the real-life experiences that shaped the conservative warrior many of you got to know on the campaign trail. The follow-up book to his #1 bestseller, American Cop, hits the market in May 2021. But you can get on the pre-sale list now to get a signed copy of the book before everyone else. To get your copy of An Insubordinate Life, visit chiefculp.com. And while you're there, check out all of Lauren's patriotic gear designed specifically for patriots like you. So what are you waiting for? Head over to chiefculp.com to get your copy of An Insubordinate Life today.
All right, welcome back. So I hope you wrote down those bill numbers. Here they are one more time. House Bill 1054, 1202, 1267, and 1310. There is so much in those bills. It would take me hours to explain it all, but I didn't have the time to go over everything. So you get the idea, right? These are bad bills. There will be unintended consequences if these bills pass and get put into law. If we, there's different levels of force. If we remove lower uses of force from our police officers' toolbox, if we remove protective vehicles, if we have civilian review boards, then there are going to be more lethal uses of force, not less. More civilians will be killed. More police officers will be killed. More civilians are going to be killed because we've removed those lower force options from our police. And more police will be killed just from the mere fact that they will be hesitant to act. Subjecting them to the opinions of civilians and review boards and rules put in place by non-trained people is absolutely ridiculous. Just so you know, a police dog is not lethal force. In fact, it's on par with a taser and pepper spray. If we take these tools away from officers, they're going to be more apt to go to their gun or not go to anything and get themselves killed. One more time, write these down. House Bill 1054, 1202, 1267, and 1310. Contact your legislator. They are your public servant, and you tell them that you oppose these bills. These are not public officials. They are public servants. We, the people, are the officials. Let them know that you're paying attention. We have to stay in the game, folks. The left is. Gone are the days when you vote for someone, they get into office, and you forget about it. We need to stay active and alert to what our servants are doing. And we have to hold them accountable. It's up to us, each one of us. You can do a quick search on the internet for the Washington State Legislature contact, and you can get their phone numbers and emails. Just a quick internet search will give you all of them. Let your voices be heard, and let freedom ring. That sounds great, doesn't it? This has been Common Sense, and I'm Chief Culp. You guys have a great weekend. Thank you for being here. And one other thing, make sure that you let those around you know how much you love them. Do it. God bless you guys, and good night.
I'm untouchable.